Welcome to Your Soul's Transformation podcast. My name is Dimple Bindra, and today I am here to share this beautiful perspective that I recently learned, and this has changed my life. So, those of you that kind of know me, okay, I started this startup back in 2016 with my co-founder. His name was Kamal Arora. He passed away in 2021. We started our company together. And back then I was just a yoga instructor running around, going into different places and teaching at different corporations, as well as at different community centers and gyms and going into people's homes. So our company, Instavital, was started just because Kamal found me on YouTube, surprisingly. He found one of my videos and he's like, Dimple, I love the way you talk. And I think it'll be great for you to just talk to me and see what we can do together. A couple of months later, we basically built our company just because we found out that so many wellness practitioners out there are underpaid. They serve, they're serving the community, they're serving whomever they're seeing. And we also saw like there was a need that corporations or people cannot book with instructors one-on-one right from their phone. So we built our entire company on this particular need and pain. And the pain for an instructor is how to find clients, how can I book? And this is like 2016, where most instructors were not tech savvy, including me. I wasn't. We didn't have a way to book anything on our calendars. So the reason I'm telling you all this is because you understand that when years later, so 2016, we built this company, fast forwarding it to 2021, we had revenue, we had over 450 instructors on our platform, and I had a wide network of over 4,000 instructors worldwide. So that's what the company was doing. And, here we go out there and we try to sell our company to an investor. So after meeting like over, I would say, 150 or 160 investors, there was this one investor that I spoke to and he loved what we are doing. And my whole goal, was I gotta take yoga to every household. I want every person on this planet to meditate, so that they understand that they do not have to take pills. And the reason I'm telling you this story is after my co-founder passed away, which was in 2021, he passed away during the time when our investor, who promised us that we are going to get acquired by this investor, he passed away, Kamal. And I was devastated. I was like, oh my goodness, here it's been like 5 years. We built this day in, day out. And if you are an entrepreneur or if you are a business owner, especially a woman business owner, and you have a partner who's a technologist, because he was a technologist, it's hard for you to shift your mindset from being a person who's just doing yoga to becoming a CEO. And then all of a sudden taking your company to a level where it's like hard, it's your blood, it's your sweat, it's day in, day out, 24/7 of work. And then all of a sudden you go back to zero. Because why? It's because my investor, who initially promised me a certain amount, he backed off. He basically said, I can't do it anymore due to COVID. And during that same time, even my co-founder passed away. So for me, I had like one bad news and then the other bad news all of a sudden. And the reason I'm sharing this on this podcast today is because I learned something in the recent 1 week. So I want to give credit to Dr. Benjamin Hardy, because Dr. Benjamin Hardy wrote a book called Gap or the Gain. And I just learned this just in the last 1 week. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I have been in the gap. And what I'm trying to say is, after the investor said no to us and my co-founder passing away, me not getting the check, and I'm literally losing my partner. I'm losing my business partner who was a mentor to me, who was a friend to me. I was devastated. And in 2021, my dad passed away. So I all of a sudden just shut down to a point where I felt like this is it. Like I put all my dreams in one basket, and my basket was Instavital. And that basket was full of hopes and goals and aspirations that I thought it just came down, you know. Have you been there? Have you been there in your point in your life where you just feel devastated? You're like, there's no tomorrow. Like, that's it. That's the end of life. That's how I felt for so many months because I was in the gap. So Dr. Benjamin Hardy taught me that either we can be in the gap or we can be in the game. And now fast forward, it's around, it's 2023, November 6th is the day of this recording. After I read this book, I'm like, oh my goodness, I have been in the gap all these years in certain aspects of my life where the gap simply means, and most of us do that, right? Like we are in the gap throughout the day, especially with our kids or our partners. We'll just filter through what's wrong. We don't see what's right. We don't see what has worked. We keep judging ourselves for what hasn't worked. And we keep thinking that we have not made a difference in our lives because we don't see our progress. And what I've learned is, which I wanted to share on this podcast, is that we need to start wherever we are at today. We need to think back in time. So ask yourself this question: what have you gained in the past 1 week? And then go back to 30 days. What have you gained in the last 30 days? And then go back 90 days. What have you gained in the last 90 days? Oftentimes, people who are in the gap for years and years and years, especially entrepreneurs like me. We are just programmed in a way to think that we have to be at a certain level, whatever that level is. And you need to read The Gap in the Game to really understand this. That certain level is considered the ideal. We measure ourselves based on our ideals. For example, if you're a woman and you don't have a good relationship with your husband, you'll keep measuring your husband's behavior based on your ideal version of your husband. And that ideal version could be a guy who kisses you good morning every day, who takes time off from his work and takes you out on a vacation, or who takes you out on dates. That's your ideal version of your husband. So based on this philosophy and newer perspective of the gap in the game, you can simply change the way you think and say to yourself, what have I gained in this relationship since the first day I met my husband? And if you look back in time, there's a lot of things that you probably gained being in this marriage. It could be the love that you felt the first year or second year, the children you have together, the house that you have together, the assets that you have together. Not that I'm saying that that is supposed to be the foundation of marriages, but what else have you gained? So that needs to be your newer perspective. So it's so easy for humans to fall under the gap mentality, which is we just see the flaws of our partners, or we see flaws of our children, and we see flaws into what we have not achieved yet, maybe in your work or maybe at something that you're trying to do. But instead, you have to pause, reflect, and think back on what have you gained in the past 7 days, in the past 30 days, in the past 90 days. And if you measure back to up to a year or even 3 years, you will understand that we are always gaining something. We are not losing anything. Coming back to my story, what have I gained? After my co-founder passed away, and because some of you know this and some of you probably don't, I can sense energy, I can sense spirits, and I can talk to them. And Kamal comes to me in a state where I was in the temple. I remember on the day of his death, and I'm like, Kamal, you're not there anymore. What am I going to do with my life? And he said, Dimple, do not worry about Instavital. Focus on your brand, Dimple Bindra. I'm like, what does that mean? And he says, remember, you always talked about trauma. You always wanted to help women with trauma. You always wanted to help women who are insecure. You always wanted to help women with imposter syndrome. So focus on that. And since 2021 and now it's 2023, what have I gained? I have gained a new way of thinking. I'm a newer person. I have built my business up to a level by myself and my team, thanks to my team that has built this for me. So I have gained a lot along the years, but I never saw it that way. I literally would have these nervous breakdowns every month or every 2 months thinking, what have I not achieved? But when I started reading this book and I'm like, oh my God, I need to share this on my podcast. And this is my dream that maybe one day Dr. Benjamin Hardy comes on our show and really talks to us about the gap in the gain. So those of you who really feel that they are negative, if you feel like you're negative in your life and sometimes you're negative towards certain people, you're negative towards your job, you're negative towards your mom, it doesn't matter, right? Because we're humans. We are literally programmed to be in the gap. But hey, I need you to focus on what have you gained. And if this podcast resonates with you, and if you feel that this is something that you are going to try, go ahead and read The Gap in the Gain for sure. And definitely, if you feel you want to talk to me and you want to ask me a question, and I would love to make a podcast on it. So when you go on to AskDimple.com, simply press the recording and you will send me a question and I will personally answer that question for you. And if you feel that you need to really have a conversation with me because you have been struggling something in your life that I can help you with, let's talk. So all you need to do is to go into superchargeyoursoulpodcast.com. Please follow us and give us a review. And if you want to have a conversation with me, then all you do is go on askdimple.com and simply ask me your question. And if you personally want to talk to me and you want to schedule a time to connect with me, absolutely head over to dimplebindra.com, which is DIMPLEBINDRA. And you can simply schedule a discovery call. So let's get to talk and see how I can help you. And always remember, metamorphosis, not medication. Namaste.